I am a man and I contacted the person trans I knew she hooked up with? A little bit of context. I've been feeling down recently, and this isn't just a fleeting mood. It's been a persistent weight that's made day-to-day life feel heavier than it should. My wife and I have been traveling a lot since March last year, and while that might sound exciting and adventurous to some, the reality has been far less glamorous. The constant movement, the disruption of routine, and the lack of stability have taken a toll on both of us, though in different ways. For me, it's been exhausting and isolating, and for her, it seems to have amplified her frustrations with me. She's been constantly at my throat about a lot of things, and honestly, she hasn't been helping much with the issues that have come up. This dynamic has been especially hard to deal with since I broke my leg last year. Breaking my leg wasn't just a physical setback. It was a turning point in how I saw our relationship. I needed her emotional support more than ever, and it just wasn't there. Sure, she'd help me with practical things when she had to, but emotionally? It felt like I was completely on my own. It's not just the lack of support that's been bothering me. Since that time, our relationship has felt increasingly strained. Arguments have become more frequent, and while they aren't explosive, they are draining. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. There's a steady stream of criticism, a constant undercurrent of dissatisfaction on her part, and a lack of understanding that has left me feeling more isolated than ever. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when it all started going downhill, but the leg injury feels like it magnified every small crack in our relationship. I recently decided to take a few days to myself. I went away to visit some friends, hoping that the distance would give us both a little breathing room and maybe help me reset mentally. When I got back, she seemed genuinely happy to see me. For a brief moment, it felt like things might be okay again. We laughed, talked, and shared a few moments of connection that had felt so elusive in recent months. But that hope was short-lived. Within a few days, we had slipped right back into the cycle of arguments and misunderstandings. The same patterns, the same frustrations, the same emotional distance. Here's where it gets even more complicated. I've been feeling trapped in this situation. I have no support network here. The friends I visited live far away, and I don't have close relationships with anyone locally. It's not just the lack of friends, it's the sense that I'm completely alone in dealing with this. I don't have anyone to confide in, no one to help me process what's been happening or to offer a fresh perspective. That feeling of isolation has been one of the hardest parts of this entire experience. It's made every argument, every criticism, and every moment of emotional neglect feel magnified. Now, here's the part I've been struggling with the most. I have a strong suspicion that she's been hooking up with other people. I don't have concrete proof, but there are signs that are hard to ignore. It's the small things, a text she's too quick to hide, a sudden insistence on privacy with her phone, unexplained absences, and a certain coldness that wasn't there before. It's not like she's on traditional dating sites or hookup apps, at least not that I know of. She's smart, and if she's doing something, she's being careful about it. But there's something in her behavior that's shifted, and it's hard to shake the feeling that I'm not imagining it. I've gone back and forth in my head about whether I should confront her directly. The problem is, I don't know if I'm ready for the answer. If she denies it, will I believe her? If she admits to it, what do I do then? It's not just about whether or not she's been unfaithful. It's about what that means for us, for our marriage, and for the life we've built together. I'm not even sure if I want to know the truth, but at the same time, the uncertainty is eating me alive. There's one person I've been tempted to contact. I'm fairly certain he's one of the people she's hooked up with. I've pieced this together from little clues, a name mentioned casually in conversation, a photo I happened to see on her phone, and a few other breadcrumbs that, when put together, form a picture that's hard to ignore. I've thought about reaching out to him, not to accuse him or start a fight, but to ask a simple question. Did he use a condom? It's not about jealousy or anger, it's about my own health and sanity. We've had sex a few times since I've been back, and I can't stop thinking about the possibility that I could be at risk. Even as I write this, I'm questioning whether it's the right thing to do. Would contacting him make things worse? Would it even give me the clarity I'm looking for? And what if he denies it or refuses to talk to me? On the other hand, if he's honest and confirms what I suspect, at least I'd know where I stand. At least I'd know if I need to get checked or take precautions. But it's not just about the physical aspect. It's about understanding the full scope of what's been happening in my marriage. I've been turning this over in my mind for days now, weighing the pros and cons, trying to decide what to do. Every time I think I've made a decision, I second-guess myself. It's not just the potential fallout that worries me, it's the deeper implications of what it means to even consider this. What does it say about our relationship that I'm in this position? What does it say about me that I'm seriously contemplating contacting this guy? And what does it say about her that I'm even having to ask these questions? The truth is, I don't know what to do. I feel stuck, not just in this situation, but in a marriage that's become increasingly unrecognizable. I've been trying to hold on, trying to find a way to make things work, but the weight of everything, the arguments, the isolation, the suspicion, is starting to feel unbearable. I'm not sure how much longer I can keep this up, and that thought terrifies me. Because as hard as things are right now, the idea of ending our marriage and starting over is even harder to imagine. For now, all I can do is keep thinking, keep questioning, and hope that at some point the path forward will become clearer. Whether that means confronting her, contacting him, or finding another way to deal with all of this, I don't know. What I do know is that something has to change because living in this state of uncertainty and doubt is no longer sustainable. Story 2. Wanting to break up with my boyfriend. My boyfriend genuinely loves me, that's for sure. He's always been caring and affectionate, but over the past few months, things have started to change. Lately he's gotten weird. He's become insecure about every small thing, and it's beginning to suffocate me. For instance, even if I speak to another guy, he gets jealous. It doesn't matter if it's a casual conversation or a work-related discussion. He'll find a way to make it an issue. What's worse is that he's started complaining about me to my friends. He'll tell them his side of the story, often exaggerating things, and even tries to get them to agree with his views. It's like he's looking for validation from everyone around him that I'm the one in the wrong. It's incredibly frustrating because my friends are stuck in the middle, and I've even had a few awkward encounters where they don't know how to respond to his complaints. He's so adamant about being right that he doesn't see how uncomfortable he's making everyone, including me. One of the biggest issues we've had is about my male friends. He's upset that I still talk to them and has told people that he stopped talking to all females when we started dating, so he thinks I should have done the same. The thing is, I never asked him to stop talking to anyone, nor did I expect him to. It was his choice, and now he's using it against me as if it's some kind of moral high ground. It's exhausting having to justify my friendships to him, especially when they're completely platonic and have been in my life long before he came into the picture. One incident that really hurt me was when I opened up to him about some of my deepest insecurities. I told him about a really bad time in my life when I struggled with being overweight, dealt with eating disorders, and had extremely unhealthy habits. It took a lot for me to share those things with him, and I thought he'd understand the vulnerability it took for me to open up. But instead of keeping that between us, he told someone else about it. When I confronted him, he said he did it because he was so traumatized that someone as perfect as me could think these things about myself, and he had to discuss it with someone. I was furious. It wasn't his story to share, and the fact that he didn't see why I was angry only made it worse. A few months later, he confronted me about how we don't spend much time together and how I've been acting differently. At first, I thought this was a step in the right direction. He was expressing his feelings, and I was ready to have an honest conversation about how we could improve things. But then he ended the conversation by saying I was a boring person. I was taken aback. It felt like a slap in the face. When I asked him if that meant he wanted to break up, he looked at me, surprised, as if the thought had never crossed his mind. But how could he say something so hurtful and not realize the impact it would have on me? Feeling sad and offended, I texted one of my friends about what he said. I needed to vent and process my feelings. Little did I know, my boyfriend had my friend's password, logged into their account, read our entire conversation, and started a fight over it. He accused me of sharing our private relationship details, saying, when I told my friend's name, about her insecurities, she got mad at me. Now look at her, telling everyone about our relationship. It was so hypocritical that I didn't even know how to respond. He's been playing the victim ever since, and it's driving me crazy. He won't let it go, and every time we argue he finds a way to bring it up, as if it justifies everything else he's done. Then there's the issue of gifts. A few weeks ago he bought me an extremely expensive gift. At first I was touched by the gesture, but now it feels like a weight hanging over me. It's as if the gift is supposed to make up for everything else or keep me from leaving. It's not that I'm ungrateful, but I can't help but feel like it's part of a pattern of manipulation. The most recent incident involved a dress I made. I found an oversized shirt and transformed it into a dress. I was so proud of how it turned out. It was an off-shoulder dress that ended just above my knees. It wasn't revealing, no cleavage was visible, just my collarbones and knees, but it felt like a fun, creative project that made me happy. When I first showed him the dress, he said it was so hot and seemed to like it. But later, when I showed him a before and after picture of the transformation, his response changed. He said, "This doesn't feel like you," and when I asked him what he meant, he said something about body shape or something. I was confused and hurt. It felt like he was fat-shaming me, even though I've worked hard to feel confident in my body. I tried to get him to explain what he meant, but he avoided the question for hours, leaving me to unravel on my own. When I finally pressed him for an answer, he said, "It didn't suit you," which only made me feel worse. How could he say that after calling it hot earlier? When I questioned him further, he backpedaled, saying, "What I meant was, it was really revealing." At that point, I was done holding back. I saw this as an opportunity to address all the things we've both been avoiding. I started bringing up the issues that have been bothering me, hoping we could have a healthy conversation about our problems. But instead of engaging, he said, "Leave it. Why can't we just be normal?" That shut down the conversation, and we haven't spoken about it since. Every time I try to air out our problems, he dismisses them or avoids the discussion entirely. I'm at a breaking point. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells around him, constantly trying to manage his insecurities and navigate his shifting moods. I've lost the sense of partnership that a relationship is supposed to have. Instead, it feels like I'm carrying the weight of his expectations and frustrations while my own needs and feelings are being ignored. I've tried to make things work, but it's becoming clear that his behavior isn't just a phase. It's who he's become, and I'm not sure I can keep doing this. Breaking up feels like the logical next step, but it's not easy. I've invested so much time and energy into this relationship, and part of me still hopes he'll change. But hope isn't enough. I need to prioritize my own well-being and happiness, even if that means walking away. The question is, how do I do it? How do I end things with someone who loves me but can't see how much his actions are hurting me? And how do I find the strength to move on when I've spent so long trying to make this work? For now, I'm taking things one day at a time, but the decision is looming. I can't keep living like this, and I know I need to make a choice soon. Whether it's finding a way to communicate better or finding the courage to let go, something has to change. Let's read recent comment was, "There is only one comment. You said your boyfriend genuinely loves you and then said a bunch of things that make me think the complete opposite. Complaining about you. Getting upset over your male friends. This whole situation is controlling behavior between. Telling someone else about things you confided in him about, betrayal of trust. Calling you boring. Having your friend's password, fine I guess. Logging in and reading your private chats? Not fine, invasion of privacy. Body comments and fat shaming, doesn't really need an explanation. He doesn't listen to you or respect you by the sounds of it. You can't be with someone like that. And you can't be with someone if you can't communicate and work through your issues, which he clearly seems to avoid. I definitely think you should leave him. Just rip the band-aid off. I can't tell you how to do it, but you should ASAP. Thank you for listening the story to the end. If you enjoy our videos, so don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Have a good day, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do it and hit the notification bell icon to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.